Who's got the first question?
Heidi. I want to start with William Knight. Didn't start off his way in the fight, but the finish, it's one of those finishes that it just looks so nasty. His physique adds to it. He just looks like a monster. What did you think of him?
Yeah. No, listen, he weathered the storm. He was in the deep water against a guy who was obviously very strong and a talented guy. He got out of it and finished the fight, and he's 8-1 now. We'll give him a shot.
It's funny, a lot of people are talking about his height. For light heavyweight, he's 5'10", and he just said, well, I'm Cormier's height. But could you imagine him, with his physique, ever being able to work with the PI and maybe start lowering down to 185?
Maybe. I don't know. Depends on, guys carrying a lot of muscle, man. He's a thick dude, but who knows? They can do good. They can do special things at the PI. Maybe they can.
You made a point to highlight Ronnie Lawrence. You mentioned the opponent, Johnson's height and stuff, and how that can affect the grappling. But what is it that you saw in Ronnie that made you want to make a point that this was special?
I mean, if you look at, first of all, Johnson's guard was insane. I mean, the grappling in that fight, a couple of fights tonight, we got some really good grappling. It's been a long time since I've seen grappling like tonight. And, the way this kid was able to overcome all the things that he was facing. You couldn't have a worse opponent coming into the Contender Series. I mean, the guy's got 52 fights. And just everything, all of it. And the way that this kid fought, the way that he controlled himself, I was blown away by him. I actually think this kid's really special. When he starts to train, and wait till he gets into the UFC and starts to get some confidence, and these guys start to feel like this is their house, that kid's going to do some stuff.
And then full-time training and stuff like that, right?
100%.
And then talking about some crazy grappling exchanges, the Jimmy Flick fight, that first round in particular was just
so awesome.
I mean, I don't know how Nate Smith didn't tap either. There were so many things.
I know there was some nasty submissions that Smith was in. It was a great fight. That's why I'm going to invite him back too, Nate Smith. I think he earned it. The matchmakers were like, well, let's have him win one outside the UFC. I have no doubt that whoever he fights outside the UFC, he will do well against. I think we give him the opportunity to come back and fight again. Both these guys are extremely confident in themselves. He was undefeated coming in here, and he took on, a guy with 20 fights. You know what I mean? It makes sense.
And when you talk about the Contender Series, the message that's always been there is just never stop going for the finish, right? You just want, and Jimmy Flick, I don't think stopped at all.
100%. I want to see something different, man. I can see people win decisions anywhere. This is your chance to show me what you got. What do you got? Are you going to take chances? Are you going to try to go for the finish? Or are you going to try to squeak out a decision? Squeaking out decisions don't really fly here.
And you mentioned that you want to bring a couple of the guys back in November. We're going on hiatus in a few weeks. Is that right?
Yeah, because more than likely we're going to Fight Island.
Okay. I was sort of where I was going with that.
I figured.
Speaking of news outside the Contender Series, today there was a bunch of headlines coming out. Kamaru Usman versus Gilbert Burns confirmed for December?
Yeah.
Cool. And then following that, potential rematch between Jorge Masvidal and Nate Diaz. Is
right.
that confirmed, or is that just being...
It's being worked on. That fight was in the works, yeah.
Is the plan to have the BMF belt back another factor again and have it be defended?
Well, he wants to defend it against Diaz. They were the first two to fight for it, you know what I mean? They were the guys that fought for it, so he wants to put it up versus Nate again.
So that's the plan, headlining a card with the BMF belt on the side.
Right.
Cool. That's in January. I know we've spoken about this before. Any thought about fans in January, or are you just not even thinking about it yet?
Any sort of what?
Thoughts about fans in January?
I'm not thinking about fans at all. Listen, obviously, we're going to have to see. We're going into September here, or it is September. Is it September? I don't even know what. Yeah, all right. It's September now. And we'll see how the next 3-4 months play out. I have this funny feeling things are going to change a lot after November. Yeah.
What with the Masvidal fight, the Usman fight, you got Colby versus Tyron coming up. Where does Leon Edwards fit in right now? It feels like the guy is kind of just on the outside looking in. No, he's definitely not. I mean, he's a guy that we are absolutely going to make a fight for here, and get him his. Any you know how this plays out. Anything can happen with, the guys that are in the top 5. Any of those guys could end up getting a title shot. You never know what can happen. And last thing from me, obviously, there's news that Brock Lesnar is once again a free agent. Have you any interest in re-signing him if he's willing to come back to fight?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if I talked to TMZ about that one today too. I was like, if they both want to fight each other, I'm sure it's a fight that the fans would want to see, and it would be a good introduction for Jones into the heavyweight division. So, yeah, if they wanted to do it, I would do it.
Have you heard from Lesnar?
I haven't talked to Brock. No, I haven't talked to Brock in probably a year.
Because we see this every time, right? His contract goes up with the WWE. There's a talk of him coming back to the UFC, and then he eventually re-signs with them. Do you expect him to fight again, or do you think he is done and it's just the usual sort of?
I don't know. He's 43 years old and he's got a lot of money, so I don't know what his plans are, how his body feels, or any of that. Like I said, I haven't talked to him. They asked me about it because his contract was up, and I said, if he calls me and he's interested in fighting, I would obviously consider making that fight.
If he did call you to say about that fight, he would still have to go through the USADA pool for like 6 months, right?
Right.
Okay, so it's still a bit away anyway.
100%.
All right, thanks.
It wouldn't be till next year.
And I guess it's just speculation since you haven't talked to Brock. We don't know for sure if he's completely free and clear from his contract at this point.
I know nothing. I haven't talked to him. I know nothing about it. TMZ asked me, he's a free agent, would you make that fight? And I said, if they wanted to, I would do it.
Gotcha. And going back to Jones, I know a lot of times you let fighters sort of call their shots. And speaking of Stipe, he seems to say Francis is not the one. The fight doesn't excite me. And you got Jones off to the side saying, well, hey, I'll take that fight. Right. If Stipe would say, hey, bring Jones on, could he leapfrog the group and go straight to the title shot?
No, he can't. He can't jump over Francis. Francis has earned his spot. If you think about it, what was the date that Francis last fought for the title in Boston? He fought Stipe in Boston when?
January 2018, I think.
18, yeah. So it's, he's been grinding for 2 years now, and he deserves the shot.
Here tonight we saw DC. I don't know if you got a chance to chat with him. I know he's kind of said after the Stipe fight that was it, but do we know for sure? Is he done? Has he left the USADA pool? Or
so he told us today to take him out of USADA and take him out of the rankings. It doesn't get any more official than that.
That's true. It's still got to feel a little sad, I guess, knowing that it's official and that Daniel's time is done.
It does. I had such a good time with him, but he's such a great commentator too. So he'll still be around, and he'll be with this company forever. So it's not like we're losing him, and I'll never see him again.
That's true. Tonight we had William Knight come back, and he came back from the developmental deal that worked so well. We haven't seen that happen yet this season. Is that still on the table for fighters to possibly get a developmental deal?
100%, yeah, 100%. I liked what I saw so much tonight between all the guys. When we start back up in November, I want to turn these guys right around, let them come back. And what better opportunity for the guys to come back than to fight twice on the Contender and really get your name out there. It's good for them.
Sorry, for a fighter that's coming in there, because a lot of these guys get wins and they get developmental deals, what would you say is the small difference between whether a fighter gets that developmental deal or gets the full-on contract to come back?
The way they fight. You know what I mean? The way you mean to come back and fight a second time or to get the contract?
Yeah, or just like I'm sure you see a guy and they get to win and you're maybe on the fence. You're like, oh, okay, let's give him a developmental deal. Or you might see a guy, you're like, I'm willing to take a chance and just give him a contract.
Well, what I would do with a guy with a developmental deal, if he doesn't have enough fights, I don't think that he has enough fights, and I think he's a little green and needs some work. Then I'll give him a developmental deal. Then if I see a kid that I think is nasty, has it, fought a tough, close fight, I want to take another look at him.
Gotcha. And finally for me, how was the Republican National Convention for you? How was that whole experience?
Well, I didn't go to it.
But
I taped it.
You were leaned in for it. I mean, was that still a good overall experience? And what was the feedback that you got from it?
Yeah, it's an absolute honor to be asked to be, to speak at anything like that. So yeah, it was great. The feedback's been very good.
Awesome. Thanks, Dana.
Thank you. That it?
No, we're here.
Nope.
Dana, just how many more cards are you gonna have in November for Contender Series? How many more cards for Contender Series?
Cards? Oh, Shit, what we got next week, and then what do we got?
Yeah.
Yeah, how many more are there? Total 5? We got 5 more.
And there are some reports from Russia that the Sabit Magomedsharipov against Jair Rodriguez fight could be for the October pay-per-view. Is that something that you liked? And you had any update on Jair Rodriguez's injury?
No update.
And just for the October 3 card, you have 2 big bantamweight female fights, Aldana Holm and the Randomi against Peña. You think that could get you the next contender for Amanda, those 2 fights?
I don't know. Yeah, I would imagine if Aldana won, yeah, that she would. That would make sense.
For next year, obviously.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you. Good?
Afternoon, Dana.
Right.
One quick one.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. For the Khabib and Justin fight, that co-main will be Dustin and Tony. Is that kind of like playing it safe in case the Khabib-Ferguson curse?
100%.
Okay, just making sure. Thank you,
100%.
sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey sports fans, if you want to see more videos like this, check out some of our other ones right here. And if you like what you see, make sure to hit the subscribe button and stay tuned for more from USA Today Sports.